Hello, kids. Long day. Looking forward to a good night's sleep. That's an interesting statement. Good night's sleep. When was the last time you remember getting a good night's sleep? And if you remember getting a good night's sleep, wouldn't that constitute a bad night's sleep? I ask this because I cannot remember the last time I managed to make it an entire night without waking up at least a few times. Maybe it is because I'm always hoping to wake up with that one brilliant plan that will change my life. Or maybe I just can't stop thinking about the politics of the world and the funny way in which Jon Stewart depicts it. But I do know that if I continue to think about it, I will be facing yet another restless night. Doctors tell us that we need between 6 and 8 hours of sleep a night to make sure our body is rested. They warn us of the problems facing lack of sleep, but now research is showing that too much sleep is detrimental as well. The problem personally lies in the fact that I do not know what a good night's sleep really feels like. I believe that it is a night where I close my eyes and then open them again 8 hours later and it only feels like a moment. This is only a guess because I've never really had this happen. Typically, my nights start off in my recliner, around 8:30 at night. With a tummy full of suppery goodness, I indulge in the brain-numbing splendor that is the television, and before I can hear Paula, Randy, and Simon tell some unfortunate fool that they're not going to Hollywood, I drift off into sleep, only to be woken 2 hours later by my wife loudly calling my name and telling me to go to bed. I would like to clarify that my wife learned early on that shaking me awake is not a good idea. I believe that it is because, although I seem to be at rest, my brain has begun playing out a nightly ritual in my synapses in which I become the dinner for some otherworldly creature. And just at the moment that I am about to become their chow, she shook me awake and I let out a scream that would rival that of any 6-year-old girl. Now she just says my name over and over again, drawing me back into consciousness. From there, I drag myself to bed. This is usually followed with a chiming rendition of bedtime to our kitties as though they weren't aware of our intentions. This next phase defeats all recliner sleep prepping that I may have done. You see, as a bachelor, when one falls asleep on a recliner and eventually drags themselves to bed, they do just that. They barely manage to make it under the covers, and wearing whatever it was they wore in the recliner, they fall into bed. But now that I am married and living with a woman, I now have a bedtime ritual. Not that I wanted one, but since my wife has one, I felt somewhat obligated to give it at least half a try. She has a list of chores she must accomplish to make herself ready for bed. This list includes removing her makeup, washing her face, taking out her contacts, changing into sleepwear, putting on her glasses, charging her cell phone, setting the alarm, and getting into bed. This usually takes around 10 minutes. My ritual is brush my teeth, pop a Claritin, strip down to my boxers, and get into bed. My process takes about 2 minutes. The problem lies in the fact that in those 2 minutes from recliner slumber to getting into bed, I am now fully awake. And since I just had a power nap on the recliner, my brain thinks it is time for action. This makes me ponder things in my life, revving up my brain so fast that no amount of wariness will allow me to sleep. And since I am laying down in a dark room, my brain doesn't have to waste the energy on moving or focusing, so it can be as loud as it wants. So the next logical step would be to take a sleep aid. I have, but because I'm either really strong-willed or immune to the effects immediately, I still manage to get a lousy night's sleep and have the joy of being groggy for the rest of the next day. I think it has to do with willpower, because every time I have a minor operation in which they put me to sleep, I manage to wake up during the procedure. But that is when I witness great things like, "Oh shit, he's awake!" or witnessing a man with his entire hand inside my nose. But I digress. The question really is there such thing as a good night's sleep? And will I know it if I have one? I believe now that the only good night's sleep that I will attain will come when I settle down for my last great nap. But since I won't be waking up from it, I won't be able to share the experience. So as you finish up your bedtime ritual, I'll leave you with this to ponder into the wee hours. If the only true good night's sleep that we will ever get comes when we finally take the plunge into the ever-darkness, then doesn't it stand to reason that why we can't sleep through the night is so that we can remind ourselves that we're not dead yet? Oh shit, he's awake!